What really happens to you while you sleep? What if I told you that every night when you close your eyes, you travel to realities that can be as real as your everyday life? Maybe even more real. Are your dreams just stories made up by the mind? Or do they have something much deeper and more mysterious behind them? Imagine waking up and realizing that what you experienced during your sleep was more intense and significant than what you experienced while awake. Could it be that while we sleep, our consciousness visits places we never imagined existed? Are these experiences just imagination? Or do you really come into contact with other realities? Sleep goes far beyond the simple physical rest that we generally associate with it. While your body rests, your mind continues to work hard, processing information and experiences in ways we don't yet fully understand. During this state, you immerse yourself in inner realities that often feel more vivid and authentic than your waking experiences. The colors are more intense, the emotions deeper, and the situations, although often illogical, carry a sense of reality that is difficult to explain when we wake up. Consciousness during sleep does not turn off like a switch, it transforms. Instead of being directed to the outside world through the physical senses, it turns inward, accessing layers of the mind that remain hidden during the waking state. This change in the way we perceive our existence may explain why dreams often contain elements that defy the laws of physics and everyday logic. Have you ever dreamed that you were flying or talking to someone who has passed away? These experiences feel completely real as they happen because your consciousness is operating in a different mode. EEG studies show fascinating patterns of brain activity during sleep, especially in the REM phase, when most vivid dreams occur. Surprisingly, in some ways, the brain during REM sleep is more active than when we are awake. This contradicts the popular idea that sleep is a state of mental switching off. In fact, your brain is doing complex integration, reorganization, and even problem-solving work while you sleep. Various cultures throughout history have attributed deep spiritual meaning to sleep. The old ones, Egyptians for example, they considered sleep as a small death, a moment in which the soul could travel to other dimensions. You Aborigines Australians speak of the dream time, a dimension where ancestors and spiritual knowledge can be accessed. These traditions, although different from the modern scientific perspective, recognize something that science is beginning to explore. Sleep allows access to altered states of consciousness that can have profound importance for our understanding of reality. Reports from people who have had near-death experiences often describe sensations similar to those of intensely vivid dreams. An altered perception of time, encounters with deceased entities or people, and a feeling of transcending normal physical limits. This raises intriguing questions. Could sleep provide a temporary glimpse into states of consciousness that we experience more fully after physical death? Or do these states simply represent different configurations of our consciousness, accessible under certain neurological conditions? Regardless of the answer, it's clear that sleep represents much more than just a period of physical recovery. It's a window into alternative dimensions of conscious experience. During REM sleep, the emotional centers of the brain, such as the amygdala, experience increased activity, which contributes to the often emotional and sometimes disturbing nature of dreams. This intense brain activity during sleep completely contradicts the popular notion that the brain rests while we sleep. In contrast to this hyperactivity in some regions, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical thinking, critical judgment, and conscious decision-making, shows significantly reduced activity during REM sleep. This is why we accept absurd or impossible situations in our dreams without questioning them. For example, you may dream that you are talking to your pet and think it is perfectly normal, or you may find yourself flying without wings or equipment. The decrease in prefrontal activity during REM sleep explains the lack of critical thinking that we would normally apply to these situations when awake. Studies using advanced neuroimaging technologies have revealed that the brain during sleep is not only active, but is performing vital information processing functions. During slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus, a crucial structure for the formation of memories, transfers information to the cerebral cortex, consolidating memories and learning from the previous day. That's why a good night's sleep after studying, new material or practicing a new skill significantly improves retention and performance. Brain activity during sleep also has unique characteristics that are not observed during wakefulness. Specific brain waves, such as sleep spindles and the K complex, arise during non-REM phases and are associated with memory consolidation and protection of sleep against external disturbances. Researchers have found that the quality and quantity of these specific brain waves correlate with learning ability and overall cognitive health. In people with neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, these characteristic sleep brain waves often show altered patterns, suggesting a connection between sleep disturbances and cognitive decline. Dreams are not mere random sequences of images and sensations produced by a brain at rest, as was previously thought. They represent a complex psychic processing system where your brain actively works to organize and integrate emotional experiences, memories, and information acquired during the day. This nightly processing follows patterns that, although they may appear chaotic at first glance, often reveal recurring themes and personally significant symbolism. Research shows that about 60–75% of dream content is related to recent events or concerns in your life, with the remainder emerging from older memories or content seemingly unrelated to conscious experience. Dreams play a crucial role in emotional regulation. During REM sleep, the brain specifically processes emotionally charged memories, helping to reduce the emotional intensity associated with upsetting experiences. This process is so important that studies show that people deprived of REM sleep have greater emotional reactivity and difficulty dealing with stressful situations. You've probably noticed how, after a good night's sleep, problems that seemed overwhelming the day before often seem more manageable. This is partially because your dreams helped you process and integrate the emotions associated with these issues. In the sphere of creativity and problem-solving, dreams offer a unique field for innovative mental connections. Free from the restrictions of logical and linear thinking that dominates our waking consciousness, the dreaming mind can make unusual associations and find original solutions to problems. Countless scientific and artistic advances have arisen directly from insights gained in dreams, from the molecular structure of benzene, visualized by the chemist Auguste Cthulhu like a serpent biting its own tail, until the melody of Yesterday Beatles, which Paul McCartney reported hearing it, complete in a dream. These examples illustrate how dreams can access creative potentials that are beyond the reach of conscious thought. From the perspective of evolutionary psychology, dreams may have played an important role in the survival of the human species. Threat simulation theory suggests that dreams, particularly nightmares, function as mental simulations of dangerous situations, allowing you to practice responding to threats in a safe environment. This adaptive function would explain why dreams of being chased, falling, or losing control are among the most common in all cultures. When you dream that you are being chased and need to escape, your brain is essentially running a simulation that could improve your chances of survival if a similar situation occurs in real life. In addition to scientific explanations, dreams have been considered portals to spiritual or inaccessible dimensions of existence in virtually all human cultural traditions. You indigenous peoples of North America, for example, consider dreams as direct communications with the spiritual world, while ancient Tibetan traditions developed sophisticated dream yoga techniques to utilize the dream state as a practice for spiritual development. What all of these traditions share is the recognition that dreams represent a form of expanded consciousness that can access information, insights, and experiences normally inaccessible to the waking mind. Whether you are interested in neurobiological explanations or spiritual interpretations, one thing is certain: your dreams are not mere byproducts of sleep, but a significant dimension of your conscious experience that deserves attention and consideration. Dimethyltryptamine is a powerful, psychedelic substance that, surprisingly, is produced naturally by your own body. During REM sleep, recent research suggests that the brain releases small amounts of this substance, particularly through the pineal gland. This pea-sized structure, located in the center of the brain, was historically called the third eye in several spiritual traditions. Long before scientists discovered its function, in producing melatonin and possibly DMT. The presence of this endogenous psychedelic molecule may partially explain why our dreams often present characteristics similar to the experiences reported by people who have consumed exogenous DMT. Vivid images, a sense of heightened reality, and experiences of transcending the normal limits of perception. Serotonergic receptors are strongly activated by DMT, which creates profound changes in visual perception and subjective experience. During REM sleep, these same receptors show high activity, especially in the visual areas of the brain. This chemical activation may explain why you can see so vividly in your dreams, even with your eyes closed and in the absence of external visual stimuli. The intensely colored visions, fantastical scenarios, and impossible transformations that occur in dreams share many characteristics with the visual effects reported by people under the influence of DMT, suggesting a common neurobiological mechanism. A particularly intriguing aspect is the correlation between endogenous DMT levels and near-death experiences. Researchers have discovered a significant increase in brain DMT production during situations of extreme stress or proximity to death, both in humans and in animal models. This could explain why many near-death experiences include out-of-body sensations, tunnels of light, encounters with luminous beings, and a profound sense of peace, experiences that are also common in intense dreams and in experiences induced by exogenous DMT. Some scientists propose that the release of DMT during REM sleep may represent a milder form of the same alterations in consciousness that occur during near-death experiences, allowing us to regularly experience transcendent states without the trauma associated with near-death. DMT's role in dreams may also be related to an important evolutionary function: the integration of subconscious information and the modeling of potential threats. By temporarily decoupling consciousness from the constraints of physical reality, the brain can simulate unlikely but potentially important scenarios for survival. For example, a seemingly absurd dream about flying to escape a predator may be exercising neural circuits related to escaping danger. DMT, by facilitating this decoupling from consensual reality, could be seen as an evolutionary way that allows your brain to perform mental simulations without the limitations of rational thought that characterize the waking state. The philosophical implications of natural DMT production during sleep are profound. If an endogenous molecule can so radically alter our perception of reality, it raises fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness and what constitutes reality. Is the reality we experience when awake more real than that of dreams, or does it simply represent a different neurochemical state? Some spiritual and shamanic traditions that use exogenous DMT, as in ayahuasca, argue that these altered states are not hallucinations, but allow access to dimensions or aspects of reality normally filtered by ordinary consciousness. If we consider that your own brain naturally produces this substance during sleep, this suggests that you can regularly access expanded states of consciousness without the need for external substances. You just need to learn to consciously remember these natural experiences that occur every night. Precognitive dreams, those that appear to predict future events, represent one of the most intriguing phenomena in the human experience. Although conventional science has difficulty explaining them, they are reported consistently across cultures and throughout history. Research shows that approximately 25–35% of people claim to have had at least one significant precognitive dream experience in their lives. These dreams typically involve the clear visualization of a specific event that subsequently occurs in reality, often with precise details that could hardly be attributed to chance. What makes this phenomenon even more intriguing is that these premonitions often involve events that the person would not be able to rationally predict, such as unexpected accidents, encounters with strangers, or natural disasters. Mark Twain, the celebrated American writer, recounted a disturbing experience in his autobiography that became one of the best-known cases of apparently precognitive dreaming. In 1858, while still a young steamboat pilot in Mississippi, Twain had a vivid dream about his brother Henry. In the dream, he saw his brother lying in a metallic coffin, wearing one of his own suits, with a large bouquet of white roses with a single red rose in the center on his chest. A few weeks after this disturbing dream, his brother Henry was working as a crewman on the steamboat Pennsylvania when the vessel's boiler exploded. Henry suffered serious lung injuries when he inhaled superheated steam during the accident and died days later as a result of those injuries. When Mark Twain arrived for his brother's funeral, he found a scene almost identical to the one in his dream. What makes this case particularly impressive are the specific details that were confirmed. Upon arriving for the wake, Twain discovered that his brother had been placed in a metal coffin, something unusual for the time. Furthermore, someone had dressed Henry in one of Mark's suits without his prior knowledge. And the most disturbing detail, an unknown woman had placed a bouquet of white roses with a single red rose in the center on Henry's chest, just as Twain had dreamed. From a scientific point of view, several hypotheses attempt to explain this phenomenon without resorting to ideas of extrasensory perception. One theory proposes that our brains are constantly bombarded with sensory information, much of which is processed unconsciously. During REM sleep, the brain can integrate this subliminal information and form conclusions that would not be reached by conscious thought. For example, you may have unconsciously noticed signs of a developing illness in a loved one, signs that your conscious mind ignored, but which your brain processed during sleep and presented in the form of a dream about that sick person. If the illness later manifests itself clearly, the dream will appear to have been precognitive, when in fact it was based on information that was already available, although not consciously processed. On the other hand, some contemporary interpretations of quantum physics suggest more radical possibilities. Phenomena such as quantum entanglement and non-locality question our conventional understanding of time as a linear and exclusively unidirectional progression. Theoretical models such as retrocausal time propose that information can, in certain circumstances, flow from the future to the past. If time is less linear than our ordinary experience suggests, perhaps human consciousness, in altered states like REM sleep, can occasionally access information outside conventional temporal sequence. This perspective gains some credibility when we consider that our subjective perception of time is notoriously flexible. Remember how time seems to pass more quickly when you're engaged in a pleasurable activity, or how it can slow down drastically in moments of danger or trauma. Regardless of the explanation, apparently precognitive dreams invite us to consider a fascinating possibility that our consciousness may interact with time and space in ways we do not yet fully understand. If you've ever had an experience like this, you know how deeply impactful it can be, not just because of the occurrence itself, but because of what it suggests about the nature of reality and human consciousness. These dreams challenge our materialistic understanding of the world and suggest that perhaps consciousness has dimensions that transcend the physical limitations we normally consider absolute. Whatever the ultimate explanation, the phenomenon of precognitive dreams remains one of the most provocative and intriguing aspects of the human experience during sleep. Sleep paralysis is a disconcerting phenomenon that occurs when you mentally awaken during sleep, but your body remains completely immobilized. This condition happens naturally during REM sleep to prevent you from physically acting out your dreams, but you are usually not aware of it. The problem arises when your mind awakens before this muscular paralysis is deactivated. During these episodes, you may be fully aware of your surroundings, but unable to move or speak, a sensation often described as terrifying. Between 8% and 50% of people will experience at least one episode of sleep paralysis in their lifetime, with around 5% experiencing recurrent and potentially debilitating episodes. The most disturbing aspect of sleep paralysis is the frequent sensation of an evil presence in the environment. Many report a vivid awareness of someone or something in the room with them, a presence that is often described as threatening or malevolent. These felt presences are often accompanied by extremely realistic visual, auditory, or tactile hallucinations. You may see dark figures, feel pressure on your chest as if something is sitting on top of you, or hear threatening voices or sounds. These experiences are so consistent across different cultures and historical periods that many researchers believe they can explain traditional accounts of nighttime attacks by supernatural entities, from medieval incubi and succubi to the old hag in English folklore or kanashibari in Japan. Neuroscience offers fascinating explanations for these experiences. During sleep paralysis, the amygdala that processes fear in the brain shows increased activity, while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, shows reduced functioning. This combination creates a state where primitive fear is amplified, while the ability to rationally interpret sensations is compromised. Simultaneously, the brain tries to make sense of the discrepancy between being conscious but unable to move, often interpreting this situation as the result of an external threat. The specific hallucinations experienced may be influenced by cultural expectations. In societies where there are beliefs about night demons, people tend to see demons. In cultures with stories about alien abduction, apparitions are often perceived as extraterrestrial. In addition to the traditional neurological explanation, some alternative perspectives suggest that sleep paralysis may represent a unique liminal state between different modes of consciousness. During this state, you are simultaneously connected to the physical world and the dream world. This overlap of normally separate states of consciousness has led some researchers to propose that sleep paralysis may represent a form of expanded perception where potentially other levels of reality become momentarily accessible. Practitioners of astral projection and lucid dreaming, for example, often use episodes of sleep paralysis as a portal to intentional out-of-body experiences. Although sleep paralysis can be terrifying, there are effective techniques for managing it. Improving sleep hygiene, avoiding sleeping on your back, practicing relaxation techniques, and simply understanding that the phenomenon is natural and not dangerous can significantly reduce the negative impact. Many people find that once they understand what is happening, they can transform the experience from terrifying to intriguing. Some individuals even learn to use these episodes as an entry into lucid dreams, converting a potentially distressing experience into an opportunity for conscious exploration of the dream state. This potential for transformation illustrates how our relationship with altered states of consciousness can change drastically depending on our understanding and approach to them. Astral travel, also known as out-of-body experience, represents a phenomenon where consciousness appears to separate from the physical body, allowing perception and exploration of environments from a distance. During these experiences, people often report floating above their bodies, passing through walls and solid objects, and traveling instantaneously to distant locations. Research suggests that about 10% of the world's population reports having experienced at least one spontaneous out-of-body experience, usually during periods of extreme relaxation, deep meditation, close to falling asleep or waking up, or during near-death experiences. What makes these experiments particularly intriguing is that individuals often report observing precise details of distant locations that are later confirmed, which raises questions about whether some aspect of consciousness can actually operate independently of the physical brain. Lucid dreams, on the other hand, occur when you become aware that you are dreaming while the dream is still in progress. In this fascinating state, you maintain full awareness within the dream environment and often gain the ability to actively control or influence dream content. Research in sleep laboratories has objectively confirmed the existence of this phenomenon. People trained in lucid dreaming can signal to researchers that they are conscious within the dream through predetermined eye movements that can be detected by monitoring equipment. Functional MRI studies show that during lucid dreams, areas of the prefrontal cortex associated with self-awareness and reflective thought show levels of activation similar to those in the waking state. Both astral travel and lucid dreams have profound implications for our understanding of human consciousness. Traditionally, we have assumed that consciousness is completely dependent on and limited by the physical brain, but these experiments suggest the possibility that consciousness may have dimensions that transcend or operate partially independently of the neural substrate. Scientific studies of these experiences have produced intriguing results. For example, people in laboratory-induced states of astral travel have occasionally reported precise information about objects or events in distant rooms that they could not have perceived through the normal physical senses. Likewise, lucid dreamers often report levels of mental clarity, self-awareness, and volitional control that defy conventional theories about the nature of consciousness during sleep. Practices for intentionally inducing these experiences exist in diverse cultural and spiritual traditions. Tibetan dream yoga techniques, shamanic soul flight practices, and contemporary methods such as reality testing involve systematic training of attention and awareness to facilitate these experiences. Modern lucid dream training generally includes keeping a dream journal, performing regular reality checks during the day, asking yourself, "Am I dreaming right now?" Visualization, techniques before bed, and the use of the MILD method developed by Stephen LaBerge of the Stanford Research Institute. For astral travel, progressive deep relaxation techniques combined with specific visualizations of separating consciousness from the body are often employed. The practical applications of these experiences go beyond simple curiosity. Lucid dreamers have used this state to overcome phobias and recurring nightmares, practice physical and creative skills, explore deep existential questions, and as a therapeutic resource for emotional processing. Similarly, practitioners of astral travel report significant insights into the nature of reality and consciousness, experiences of personal growth, and occasionally even verifiable information that they could not have obtained through normal sensory channels. Regardless of how we interpret these phenomena, they represent fascinating territory for both scientific and personal exploration, suggesting that the limits of human experience may be much more expansive than we generally assume. Time in dreams operates according to laws completely different from those we experience in waking life. Research shows that temporal perception during dreams can suffer dramatic distortions, with dream experiences lasting just a few seconds seeming to last hours or the opposite. Long periods of dream time condensed into brief moments of REM sleep. This phenomenon has been confirmed in sleep labs, where researchers found that dreams that participants estimated to have lasted an hour or more occurred during periods of REM sleep of just 5 to 10 minutes. This temporal flexibility in dreams is not only curious, but deeply significant, as it challenges our understanding of time as an immutable constant and suggests that our subjective perception of time may be more fundamental than the chronological time measured by clocks. Neuroscience offers some explanations for this temporal dilation or compression in dreams. During REM sleep, brain areas involved in temporal perception, such as the prefrontal cortex and temporal lobe structures, function in an altered way. Without the regular temporal markers we use in waking life, like sunlight, clocks, or predictable sequences of events, the brain constructs its own temporality. Furthermore, the absence of critical thinking during dreams allows you to accept unlikely time jumps without question. One moment you are at school, the next you are instantly on a tropical beach without noticing the logical or temporal discontinuity. This characteristic of dreams led neuroscientist John Allen Hobson to propose that dreams represent a fundamentally different state of consciousness with its own internal rules, including a temporality distinct from that experienced while awake. The philosophical implications of these temporal distortions are profound. If your perception of time can vary so drastically depending on your state of consciousness, it suggests that time as we subjectively experience it may be a mental construct more than an absolute objective reality. This aligns with some interpretations of Einstein's theory of relativity, which proposes that time is not absolute, but relative to the observer and the conditions of spacetime. Temporal flexibility in dreams may represent an experiential demonstration of this physical principle. As philosopher Henri Bergson suggested, we can distinguish between chronological time and duration. Dreams reveal that subjective duration can diverge radically from chronological time. Particularly intriguing experiences are dreams where you experience extremely long periods of time, years or even decades, in a single night's sleep. Documented. Accounts include people who dreamed their entire lives, starting families, building careers, and growing old, only to wake up and discover that only a few hours had passed. These extreme cases raise fascinating questions. If you have subjectively lived decades in a dream with detailed memories, deep emotions, and significant learnings, is this experience somehow less real just because it occurred during sleep? If consciousness can experience a lifetime in a few hours of sleep, it suggests that our perception of time is fundamentally malleable and perhaps much more subjective than we typically recognize. Temporal disturbances in dreams also have practical implications. Lucid dream induction techniques often take advantage of this temporal malleability to expand dream experiences, allowing for extensive exploration and practice in relatively short periods of physical sleep. Athletes, for example, can practice complex movements repeatedly in lucid dreams, benefiting from the expanded perception of time to condense hours of mental practice into minutes of REM sleep. Multiverse theory, which has gained significant attention in both theoretical physics and popular culture, proposes that our universe is just one among infinite parallel universes, each with its own physical laws, histories, and possibilities. This cosmological perspective finds an intriguing parallel in the world of dreams, where you experience alternative realities that can differ drastically from your waking life. Some interpretations suggest that dreams could be more than mere mental constructs. They could represent experiences of consciousness in different realities within a vast multiverse. This view is particularly relevant when we consider recurring dreams of specific places we have never physically visited, or dreams where you live a completely different life, but with a sense of familiarity and continuity as vivid as your waking memories. Physicists such as Hugh Everett, with his many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, propose that each possibility exists simultaneously in continually branching parallel universes. Following this logic, there would be universes where you made different decisions, followed different life paths, or where historical events unfolded in alternative ways. A fascinating hypothesis suggests that during sleep, especially during REM sleep, when consciousness is partially decoupled from physical sensory inputs, your mind may occasionally tune into these parallel realities. This possibility gains some plausibility when we consider that people often report dreams that seem to pick up where they left off in previous dreams, with consistent characters, locations, and plots that evolve over time, as if they were windows into an ongoing parallel life. What makes this connection between dreams and the multiverse particularly intriguing is the correspondence with ancient spiritual traditions that predate modern physics by millennia. The Buddhist concept of bardos, the Hindu notion of multiple planes of existence, or the shamanic descriptions of higher and lower worlds accessible during altered states of consciousness, all of these traditions describe multiple interconnected realities that can be accessed by consciousness under certain conditions. Similarly, contemporary quantum physics suggests that reality at the fundamental level is not deterministic but probabilistic, with multiple possibilities coexisting until they are collapsed by observation. This convergence between cutting-edge science and ancient wisdom raises the possibility that dreams may represent a natural mode of expanded consciousness that transcends the spatio-temporal limitations of our waking experience. Particularly significant dreams are those where you encounter alternative versions of yourself or experience situations that represent paths not taken in your life. These dreams often carry an intense emotional charge and a sense of authenticity that distinguishes them from more mundane dreams. From a psychological point of view, we can interpret them as expressions of the unconscious processing unrealized possibilities or undeveloped aspects of the personality. However, if we consider the multiverse hypothesis, they could also represent genuine glimpses of parallel lives that exist simultaneously with your current reality. In these experiences, you may be momentarily tuning your consciousness to an alternate version of yourself in another timeline, a you who made different decisions at crucial moments of bifurcation. The implications of this perspective are profound both philosophically and existentially. If dreams can effectively serve as portals to alternative realities within a multiverse, it suggests that your identity and conscious experience are much more vast and multidimensional than we typically realize. The life you know while awake would be just one of countless possible expressions of your larger being. This vision radically reformulates concepts such as choice, destiny, and personal identity. Your decisions not only determine a single future, but move between infinite possibilities that coexist in different branches of the multiverse. Seen in this light, the dream experience is not a mere fantasy or byproduct of memory processing, but a window into the true multidimensional nature of reality and human consciousness, a perspective that resonates with both the most speculative theories of contemporary physics and humanity's oldest wisdom traditions. Rapid dream forgetting, technically known as dream amnesia, is a frustrating experience that virtually all of us know well. It is estimated that we forget approximately 95% of our dreams within the first 10 minutes of waking up, and almost 99% after the first day. This phenomenon is not random, but the result of specific neurobiological processes. The main responsible is the hippocampus, a brain structure essential for the consolidation of memories, which operates in a significantly altered way during REM sleep. Neuroimaging studies show that the hippocampus, so crucial to the formation of new memories during wakefulness, exhibits drastically different activity patterns during REM sleep, making it difficult to transfer dream experiences into long-term memory. It's as if your brain is operating in a mode that prioritizes the immediate experience of the dream over its later recall. Neurotransmitters also play a fundamental role in this forgetting process. During REM sleep, there is a significant reduction in the levels of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter essential for the formation of memories. This chemical reduction creates a brain environment where intense experiences can occur, but without the memory stamp that normally accompanies significant waking experiences. Additionally, cortisol, a stress-related hormone that is released at high levels when we wake up, actively interferes with the process of consolidating recent dream memories. This is one of the reasons why you may vividly remember a dream upon waking, but completely lose it after a few minutes, especially if you immediately start activities for the day or check messages on your cell phone, which further increase stress levels. From an evolutionary point of view, dream forgetting may have served an important adaptive function. Some researchers propose that if we remembered all of our dreams with the same clarity as our waking memories, we might have difficulty distinguishing between real and dream experiences, which would be potentially confusing and even dangerous in the physical world. This theory suggests that dream forgetting is an adaptation that helps maintain a clear distinction between states of consciousness, allowing the brain to do its processing work during sleep without overloading our conscious memory with information that could interfere with our functioning while awake. Consider, for example, how confusing it would be if you remembered with perfect clarity an intense argument with a friend that only happened in a dream, and then treated that person differently in real life based on that false memory. Spiritual and mystical traditions offer a complementary perspective on this phenomenon. Some esoteric traditions suggest that during sleep, especially in deep dreams, consciousness accesses dimensions or levels of reality that would be potentially disturbing or excessively intense to the ordinary conscious mind. In this view, forgetting dreams would be a kind of protective veil that allows us to benefit from the transcendent experiences of sleep without overloading our psychic system during wakefulness. Similarly, ancient traditions such as Tibetan Buddhism have developed specific techniques for remembering dreams precisely because they recognize that this forgetting is not only natural, but represents a significant barrier that needs to be overcome through specific training to access the insights available in the dream state. Fortunately, there are effective techniques to significantly improve dream recall. Keeping a dream journal by your bed and immediately recording any dream fragments upon awakening can dramatically increase your dream recall capacity. Equally important is conscious intention. Saying to yourself before bed, "I will remember my dreams," demonstrably increases recall rates. Avoiding abrupt awakenings and remaining in the same position you woke up in for a few moments also helps retain dream memories that would otherwise dissipate. With consistent practice of these techniques, many people can go from remembering only occasional fragments of dreams to remembering multiple detailed dreams almost every night, suggesting that dream amnesia, although natural, is not inevitable. This expanded capacity for dream recall opens up fascinating possibilities for self-knowledge and exploration of consciousness that would otherwise remain inaccessible.